Tri Deltas, please welcome Executive Board Director Kimberly Sullivan.
Good evening, Tri Delta. Oh, I'm so happy. Good evening. I'm hoping that you had a fantastic day. Yes? Did you like executive office? Very nice. And I hope that you've learned a lot. And I hope that you've met some new fabulous friends. Yes? Okay. Thank you, Allison. Tonight I have the pleasure of introducing to you two of my very good friends that I have met through Tri Delta. For years I have heard about how amazing these women are and how much they contributed not only to Tri Delta but to the Greek community. And let me tell you, if you sit in a room with these women, they are truly, truly amazing. The past 3 years, I have had the wonderful opportunity to serve Tri Delta on the board for the Center for Living, Learning, and Leading. And this is where I had the opportunity to really realize how amazing Marianne Callais and Amy Vojita truly are. And tonight, you will get this chance too. But before I introduce you to these amazing ladies, I want to first speak to you a little bit about the center. As many of you know, the center was founded to provide educational programming to Tri Delta and assist our house corporations with capital campaigns. As Tri Delta continues to evolve and grow, and in keeping with our strategic plan around streamlining our operations, the important work of the center will now be integrated into the fraternity and the foundation. The fraternity will continue to provide outstanding education and programming to empower our members, while the foundation will continue to support our local house corporations with capital campaigns. With this integration, it will leave us with 3 entities: the fraternity, the foundation, and National House Corporation. And this will comprise Tri Delta's enterprise of the 3, which is, the right number. While this is effective August 1st, we have already begun to see the benefits of increased efficiency and collaboration. And if you know me at all, I love efficiency. So this makes me so happy. And it's terrific just to see how much that we have developed. Those of you who attended the Developing Our Members in 3D got a sneak peek of the work that's being led by the Center Board, which is transitioning into the Member Development Committee. For those of you who missed the workshop, stay tuned. You're going to love hearing about our plans for helping our members to live, learn, and lead with purpose. It will give you goosebumps, I promise. And let me say that the women I'm about to introduce you to definitely live, learn, and lead with purpose. Between them, Dr. Marianne Callais and Amy Vojita have nearly 4 decades of experience in higher education and have received more than a dozen awards and special recognitions from the Greek community. Remember, I did tell you they're amazing, so just you wait, because I have long pages of all the stuff that they have done. Amy's getting embarrassed. Dr. Marianne Callais worked in higher education for 16 years, serving as an assistant professor and student affairs program coordinator at Mississippi State University and director of student organizations Greek Life at Southeastern Louisiana University. Currently, she is on staff at Tri Delta as a senior director of special initiatives. She has also served Tri Delta in several volunteer positions, including as a member of the Center Board. In addition, Marianne serves as immediate past national president of her sorority, Theta Phi Alpha. Marianne is well known and is highly sought after campus speaker. She has presented more than 600 workshops on fraternity and sorority leadership, team building, and values. Marianne holds an undergraduate degree in political science from Loyola University in New Orleans, a master's of education, and a doctorate in educational leadership and research from Louisiana State University. Among the many accolades she has received, some of these are the Tri Sigma Greek Advisor of the Year, Theta Chi Outstanding Greek Affairs Professional Award, Alpha Sigma Tau Order of Interfraternity Excellence, and the Southeastern Interfraternity Conference Advisor of the Year Award. not once, but twice. Marianne, where are you? Marianne, in Tri Delta, we like things to be done in threes, so one more. In 2013, she received the Fraternity Communications Association's Varner Award. She was also awarded the Association of Fraternity Advisors Distinguished Service Award and the highest award Theta Phi Alpha bestows on a member, the Guard of Honor. Outside of the fraternity and the sorority world, she has been awarded with the National Diversity Council's 2011 Most Influential and Powerful Women in Louisiana and the Louisiana Youth Seminar Lifetime Achievement Award. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. And now for amazing and awesome lady number 2. You ready?
Yeah, bring it.
Okay. Amy Vojita is the Assistant Dean of Fraternity and Sorority Affairs at Rutgers University. Previously, she served as the Assistant Director of Greek Affairs at Miami University and as the Executive Director of the Pan-Atlantic Council at the University of Texas at Austin. She received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Communication from Bowling Green State University. Amy is also an fraternal sister. She is a member of Alpha Gamma Delta sorority and serves on the advisory board for the Center, the Member Development Committee. In addition, Amy has served 2 terms as the president of the Association for Fraternity and Sorority Advisors. Amy has also, of course, won many awards. These are some of her awards: Angela C. Guillory Award from Sigma Kappa, the Philippi Outstanding Advisor Award from the Northeast Greek Leadership Association, the Sue Craft Fussell Distinguished Service Award from the Association of Fraternity Advisors, and the Spirit of BG Award from the Office of Greek Life at Bowling Green State University, the Outstanding Greek Advisor Award from Phi Kappa Tau Fraternity. Ladies, Dave and Jason, please join me in welcoming the amazing Dr. Marianne Callais and the amazing Miss Amy Vojita.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you.
It sounds like my mother wrote that. And as I'm listening to it, it's like Marianne went to school, and Marianne's a doctor, and Amy's really funny. Yay! So.
Well, and Karen wanted to say Marianne's the doctor and Amy's the nurse.
Yeah, right.
She did want to say that. She did want to say that. But I think we are very fortunate because Amy is truly
funny.
She's really funny. She's really funny. That's what she really wants me to tell you, that she's really funny. But I think between the two, you're a really big deal, Amy. You're a really big deal. I mean, she's a really big deal. That's one of the things when you leave here tonight. You say that lady that was there, she's a really big deal. Why should they listen to you, Amy? Why should they listen to me?
Truth.
Take it. You can go ahead.
Okay. No, I am a big deal. And there's some stuff that she left off. No, but I think, the reason I think that it's good that you know what our credentials are so that, if someone would make me stop eating and I'm supposed to listen, I would want to know that they actually knew what they were talking about. So I think, one, it's the attention getter, but I think, two, it's to just give you that idea that when we talk about the information tonight, we will probably do so very tongue-in-cheek, because I think both Marianne and I agree that if you're not having fun at something, you shouldn't do it anymore, right? And I think, too, that the second piece is that, we can take our work seriously, but we don't have to take ourselves so seriously. I think sometimes, especially in Greek life, we believe our own hype, and we do not. But I think it's good, though, that you heard the hype so that when you said, God, she had no idea what she was talking about, why would someone give her those credentials? You at least know who to blame. Phi Tau, NGLA, Alpha Sigma Phi, right?
And some of them have had cocktails, so either they'll think we're
really
funny, right? Or they'll be falling asleep a little bit. Some of you are like this. I see you guys in the back. You're like, what are these people doing?
Right. How many of you had a little bevy?
Little cocktail. Anybody had a cocktail? Own it, own it. You're not going to get brought before standards.
Right.
Own it. It's okay. It's okay. All right, good deal.
Then you're going to love us. And about a half an hour in, you're going to think we're the most awesome people.
They're not having cocktails now.
No. But they're still on that high.
Yeah, they are. Okay, good job. So maybe we should get to the program.
Okay, we'll get to the point. And for the purposes of getting a good evaluation, I've also set my phone so that we don't go over
good job.
time.
Excellent.
Right. Brief and to the point. So why are we talking about this? Karen didn't call. She actually just sent me an email. And I understood the email as, oh, would you come and do a little program? And I was like, sure, because I don't read, because I'm a mom, and I work, and I just have a lot of information coming at me. So I understood her email as, would you come and do a little program with Marianne? So I thought, 30 people, this will be great. And it wasn't until I was on the plane looking at the hotel resume where I was like, oh, 75 people will go to this session, and 30 will go to this one. And I was like, why are there 300 people at dinner? Where are all the undergraduates? Like, aren't the undergraduates leaving? And then I was like, no, they don't come. This is the grown-ups, and they're all going to be listening to us. And then I had that, I call it the OSM, it's a O moment, where you're like, oh, wow, it's the keynote. So I had this moment. So Karen invited
Now, I
me.
have called Amy 3 or 4 times. I've sent her slides. We have notes. And all of a sudden, she's like, it's a keynote.
I was like, lay off, Marianne. Karen gave us this impossibly long list. Talk about this, talk about this, talk about this. I was like, and then it all came together. So with sweaty palms, I give you, this is why we're talking about the program tonight. And so we have 3, I guess, intentions or outcomes or things we want to be able to cover. Things we want you to be able to kind of have a better understanding of, know, and have a conversation about, right? Because everybody is here with somebody, right? From their campus, from their board. And the best conversations that you have are usually tonight, right before you go to bed. You'll talk about how obnoxious we were, and then, oh, they made a good point. Or when you're flying home, or 3 months from now when you're talking with other board members, or as you're talking with a student, right? Like, that's why we're talking about these things, because we want to set you up to be successful when you go back to wherever it is you're going back to. But there are 3 things we want to make sure that we cover. One is that we're talking with you about all these different trends that are happening in higher ed and with our students, right, with our members. And those things are really important. You know, if you're not working in this higher ed industry, if you're not working in fraternity and sorority affairs every day, all day, and twice on Sunday, like if you're not in it to win it, there would be no way that you would know all the things that are going on in this particular industry. And nor would we know in accounting what's going on, or in healthcare what's going on, right? But within this industry, there is a lot going on. This is a really vibrant time, a vibrant good and vibrant bad. And so we want to be able to talk at least at a 30,000-foot level of what are those trends that are going on in higher ed and how they are affecting our students and our members. We want to talk, too, then about how that impacts Big Tri-Delta, right? How that impacts the work that you all do as advisors at whatever place you are in the Tri-Delta food chain, right? If you are frontline, if you are way up top, if it's kind of a lateral position that you hold. And from that, we want you to then be able to be in a place where you can start to think bigger than what your particular role is. It's really easy, I think, and we talk about this with our students, it's really easy to come in on a board or in a volunteer place and just think, this is my job. This is what's in the notebook. This is what's in my job description. I only must do these things. The other stuff outside of my realm, it doesn't matter because it's not my job. And that's such a cop-out. That is such BS. And I'm from Cleveland originally. I have lived in New Jersey now for like 20 years. So I swear from time to time. And I just kind of tell it like it is because I'm funny and I'm candid and I get away with stuff. But if you just continue to think in your silo, it is the biggest story that you will ever tell yourself, and you do such a disservice to you, the other women you serve, and to your students. So get out of thinking about what your job is. We hope, we desire for you to govern and to help the young women that you work with to govern. I can't tell you, I promised my boss, Joanne Arnhold, Dean of Fraternity Sorority Affairs at Rutgers. She's worked there a year longer than I have, which is 19 years. Every day without fail, as we talk about the ills of our system, she says, where are the advisors? And it's true. We need you all to be engaged. We need you to be varsity level. We need you to be on it every day and in it to win it. That means thinking bigger than what your role is. It's helping to connect the dots for those students that you work with, for those alums that you work with. It's asking about, well, why is this? What is this? We're going to talk a little bit about a so what, now what method that you can use to interpret data and to make some good choices and good decisions. But we really want this to be a good, thought-provoking, fun, and I think an action-oriented program for you, because the work that we do is super important. We change lives. Every day we change lives. We want to change them for the better, and we know that in Tri-Delta and in any sortie, we can't do it unless we have you. This thing does not work without advisors and without volunteers. So the work that we do is really critical. So we want to make sure that we're giving you a big perspective so that you can then drill down and to be really effective in the realm in which you work.
And I think, this is a very historical weekend that all different components of people who have touch points in Tri-Delta, big Tri-Delta, and I'm not talking about EO, I'm talking about big Tri-Delta. All those touch points are in this room tonight. You are truly the stakeholders of what's going to impact our chapter members. Yep. Now, some of you might say, but I'm an alumni person. Well, good for you, because they're coming your way.
Right.
Well, we hope to God they're coming your way, or to whoever you are. You know what I mean by that. Oh, we forgot.
God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah. We don't care.
Sorry.
We don't care. The Druids, we're down. We're down.
But I think, that's part of this experience this weekend is that no other time, I'm assuming, in the history of Tri-Delta has all of these people been in one place. So you are already connecting the dots because you're here and you're networking. But there's so much about higher education. Allison is our guru, and Allison teaches us a great deal about higher ed because she's in the trenches at so many different levels. Sarah Lindsay is in the trenches of what goes on with us on Capitol Hill and our sister organizations. It's important that we understand that the landscape is changing, and we are all involved in that process. Higher education today is a scary place. It's a scary place, and some of you are like, girl, you don't even know how scary it is. But it's a scary place because it's almost very fluid. It's almost like one day we want this from higher education, and the next day we want this. Corporate America is saying, we've got 4 generations for the first time working in industry. What are you teaching these people? They also should be looking at Tri-Delta and saying, what are you teaching your people? Because we got all the same people. And I think it's important when we talk about the changing landscape, what is scary in higher education? First and foremost, it's funding. No matter what you want to say, it's funding. And how is that trickling down to our members being able to pay dues? And people being able to live in our facilities and being able to afford higher education? I think they're looking at us and saying, we can't even keep up with these people. Between technology, can you imagine being somebody in charge of IT on a campus? They go to bed one night and there's something next morning, Yik Yak, Snapchat, whoever is already taking over the campus. And then what happened with you, Amy?
I was telling Marianne, this is an honest to God true story. Everything that happens at Rutgers, we can't even get it out of our own way. But you should still apply because we're expanding. Anyway. Truth. So, a lot of the material that the students...
She really likes us. You don't get a vote, though.
I love all 26 equally. So all of the material that the students have to turn in now is done virtually, right? So there's no homework. You all have to upload it, and it goes to a virtual Blackboard, and that's how the professors are grading, and they're taking their exams, etc. We had about a 3-week period in April where the university mainframe computer was hacked from the Ukraine. And so we had the FBI working with campus police, working with the IT guy, and it was a whole thing. And it was like, how does this happen? We were on our knees. People couldn't turn in their exams. They couldn't prep. We had whole schools, Department of Labor Relations, you know what, we're waiving all the final exams. We're going to give you 3 additional weeks to turn in your materials. It was mayhem. It was mayhem on campus. And it's because a hacker, probably some 16-year-old kid with Doritos or something was wouldn't this be funny, comrade? Yes, it would. So it was just it was rough.
And I think as a result of that, Amy's talking about this, but think about being on a college campus and what that would look like for you. And I think that when we think about higher ed, we want to blame them for everything. When I was a faculty member at Mississippi State teaching graduate students, I told them, I said, one of the scariest moments for me standing in front of you is that somewhere in our landscape, we stopped treating students like students who were coming to learn, and we started treating them like consumers. Right. I want you to think about that. And there's a whole different service level to what you're going to serve. I mean, did you get to eat, not the young ones, but did you get to eat sushi in your student union that's all fancy? No. These people are like styling and profiling, right. You know? I mean, it is serious. Most of them will never live in a facility, at whether a Tri-Delta or an apartment complex in town. Nice. Like the nice that they're living in right now, they'll never live there again.
Yeah, you can't afford it.
No. I mean, so the expectations of what those campuses are providing is really overwhelming. And I think that even when we talk about the changing student, you know, the biggest thing, everybody says, why are schools recruiting so many students from out of state? Because they pay out of state tuition. You make more dollars off of the people who are coming from out of state than in state. Do you know how many campuses? Can you imagine if we had a Tri-Delta London? Kate could advise that. A Tri-Delta, you know, Hong Kong, Tokyo. I mean, campuses are establishing campuses virtually or physically in other countries. So what does that mean to our campus changing landscape? So we could give you statistics, but at the end of the day, I think it's really to say Tri-Delta makes it a priority in the purpose to include our relationship with our host institution. So being friends with them is really important. If that makes sense. Am I right?
Word.
Okay, so earlier today we had 10 tables that talked about trends in higher education. Who wants to share a little bit about some of the trends that were talked about at your tables? Who wants to? This is the audience participation part. Mental health needs. What is that? We need mental health, or what is the what is the story with that?
Well, wait a minute. Go back. How many of you, raise your hand if you experienced a student in your chapter this year who had some mental health issues that you needed to address? And keep your hands up if you are a clinician. Yeah.
Other topics, other trends that you talked about at lunch today. Other trends. There were 10 tables. Come on, there's a lot of you. Yes. What? Substance abuse. What kind of substance were you talking about? So we're not just talking alcohol, we're talking the gambit. Okay? All right. Somebody else in the back, and then we'll come up here. Yes. Cost. Cost of what? Okay. And that's going down? The debt piece is huge for our students. Huge. Excellent. Thank you. Yes. I don't know where this is going. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know where it was going. I was getting really nervous. So selling your prescription drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Right? Anybody else experiencing that? Selling drugs? Let's go back. Anybody substance abuse? Has anybody experienced substance abuse working with chapter members? Or our friends or our family? I mean, it's touching us in all kind of different areas. Anything else? One other hot topic trend. Body image? Who said body image? Okay, what do you mean when you say body image?
The women that we work with, the perception that they have of their bodies and how that affects how they're doing mentally and academically and just, you know, how they're doing on campus.
Okay, excellent. Anybody else got a topic? Yes. The hookup culture. Anybody's having a challenge with not you, but did y'all talk about that at the table? Karen's having a problem with none or with the hookup culture. Okay.
And funnily enough, we were never asked to speak again. Yeah. That's cool. Well played. Yeah, nice.
Is there one other pressing that you felt like, yes? Medical marijuana. Okay, what are we going to do with that? In a culture where it's acceptable. Or legal. Or legal. Yeah. Allison's in Colorado. It's legal. Yes, ma'am. Excellent. Sexual assault in Title IX and legislation. How many of y'all have been faced with any kind of conversations or topics about that? Yes? No? Maybe? If you haven't, I promise our students have, sitting in meetings, have heard about it. So, what is Title IX? Who wants to explain what Title IX is? Amy?
Oh, God. Okay, so there's a letter from the, Title IX basically ensures that in addition to the women being able to play athletics, right, that's what most people know about it, it's really that protection piece. Who asked the question? Where are you? Oh, it's really that protection piece that the college and university has a duty to create a safe environment for, especially for their female students, for women. And so now it goes back to talking about how are we educating students, what services are we providing, how are we holding students accountable for their behavior through the student conduct process? What due process is affording to them as the accuser and that person as the victim or the survivor? How do we make all that happen within the confines of a student code of conduct, state laws?
It's quite complicated. It might seem easy, but it's multi-layered. I mean, and it has all kind of implications for the institution, for our chapters, for our organization, and we're just still trying to wrap our heads around, like, what do we need to do, and what is our role in that? Is that okay? Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And just
bullying in general.
Yes, regular bullying, and then.
Which kind of is a contradiction to sisterhood and civility. Yep, absolutely. Okay, those are some really great. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
The role that parents play in the relationship.
And I think we met parents.
Yes, we love them very much. But it's really about their involvement at a very intimate level. You know, we're calling them all kind of different things, but they're involved at a very intimate level with really their adult students and their adult children. But they still believe if they're paying the bills, they have a right to information and access, especially to some of you. They believe that, so, right?
So in talking about all of this, I think what we will get to is a point where we take this information and we process it in this kind of three-pronged way of what, so what, now what. And so as we talk about the bigger concepts, it's good to know what those trends are, but like we said at the beginning, we want to distill it down and to be able to take these into smaller nuggets that really lead us to be able to take action as boards and with the students that we work with. And so Mary Ann's going to talk a little bit about a quick framework that's been set forth by some authors, and we're going to use that in an interactive way in just a second. So that's just kind of the verbal cue for like, oh, interactive. I should pay attention. Okay.
So actually, Allison Griffin, a board member of ours over here, introduced us to a book called Generation on a Tightrope. And if you haven't read it, I would really encourage you to. It's a new study from an old study that's kind of been a continuing study. From two authors who have been involved in higher education for a long time. And they broke down 6 different descriptives based upon their information that they gathered that would kind of define who are today's college students. And so these are the 6 areas: digital natives, diverse generation, more connected and more isolated, economy and unrealistic expectations. Did I miss one? No. Immature, dependent, coddled, and entitled. We didn't ask for your reaction yet, but good job. Pace and scale of change. So I want you to think about each one of those. So we're going to try something new for us, and then we're going to engage you in some technology. So what we'd like for you to do, I think we're going to switch slides.
Yep.
And we're going to do a poll in this room of which one of these do you think is your top major burning issue that you'd like to discuss a little more in depth. You're going to text to that number, 22333.
Oh, look, there.
Okay?
Whoa, okay. Oh, that's just one person, phew. I got worried. People are like, this is so cool.
This might be a better way to vote in chapter meetings.
Right?
I'm just saying.
I feel like it's like the Belmont Stakes, and it's coddled and entitled.
Anybody else? All right, so who are our forerunners, Amy?
In the lead would be letter E, the immature, dependent, coddled, and entitled. This is probably where if you've taken a screenshot, we don't want you to post this on social media. That would probably more connected and more isolated, winning the silver, and the bronze going to economy and unrealistic expectations. So it's a little tough when most in the room have said immature, dependent, coddled, and entitled, because it's like, wow, then why do we keep coming back for more? They sure are cute. They're stupid, but they're cute. Okay, so
There's
as
a
we...
couple collegians in the room.
Oh, no, they're great. But they're great. Not you guys. Present company accepted. Okay, so we figured that what we would do as we talked about the whole what, so what, now what. So the what is, okay, more connected. Their economy is an issue for them, immature. The so what then, we're going to talk a little bit about. So in terms of letter E, what the authors talk about when they say, oh, this is a generation that's immature and dependent, they talk a lot about parents, and we already started to talk about them. We said, yay, parents. And so they categorize different types of parents in their involvement in this book. And so I think everyone's heard about helicopter parenting, right? You know, the hoverers. They also then talk about lawnmowers and snowplowers. So I guess they just kind of bulldoze right in. Although they could be bulldozers, they didn't categorize them as that. Stealth bombers, right? And then umbrellas. I'm assuming those are the shielders, right? So again, it's not just the parents, but it's the type of behavior, I guess, or the role that those parents are playing in the lives of the students, right? Talks about greater involvement of parent, and you'll see that institutions now. How many of your institutions, if you're working with a chapter, they've gone from a parents' weekend to a parents' week? Or if they have an Office of Parents Programming, parent orientation, right? Where you're like, wow, cut the cord.
Well, it becomes the question, who's going to college,
Right.
the student or the parent?
Right. I find it interesting. I work orientation in the summer for Rutgers, and so I go there to represent the Department of Student Life and then to talk about Greek involvement opportunities. And it's so classically kind of that helicopter parent, or the question of who's really the student, because the parents will come up to the table and they'll say, oh, do you have information about fraternities? Well, you know, he's thinking about going through Greek life. He was an Eagle Scout, and then we were so excited when he was very involved in church, and he's just a great kid, and so I don't know if he knows what he's got. And I'm like, he's standing right there. Like, he can hear you speaking. And so you're like, okay, right? Like, let the boy navigate the room. And so it's startling. They talk, too, in the book about students seeing their parents as heroes. And I think we talk about parents as friends, parents as best friends, as opposed to parent, and I'm a little bit afraid of you, which if you went to Catholic school is how you learned it. That's me. So I think it's that idea of, like, what is the role that the parents are playing? And I think certainly, as I thought about then the what, so what, now what, as I tried to put it in a now what kind of bucket, I really thought about, okay, well, how does this relate, I think, to the standards issues, the behavior issues first, right? And so based on what kind of parent you're getting, is it the stealth bomber, is it the helicopter, is it whatever, it's really interesting to think about how are parents perhaps contributing positively or negatively to those choices that the students are making. There was a woman at lunch today that was talking with us about how she had a member who used a fake ID, and she said, well, my mom said it's okay. Right? Like, at some point when you are in an advisory role, you have to kind of figure out, like, is that a bear I want to poke? Like, how am I going to not fight this, but how do you counter with education and values and a mindset that may be different than what the students are bringing in with them, right? And sometimes there are hills that I think advisors in collaboration with those kind of up and down the food chain, you're not going to die on, because it's just not a hill you want to die on. But I think at some point within that advisory realm, you have to figure out, like, what's non-negotiable. And to be prepared then, too, to talk with mom or dad, right? Because my experiences are usually that it's the, well, who else can I talk to kind of method of problem solving. And it's not so much problem solving as I will wear you down until I get my way. And again, I think it brings up some interesting conversations if I'm an advisor, right? And I know this. I need to be thinking about, like, okay, it's summertime. I've got about 3 months to get my standards board together. Now, I am not a Tri-Delta, but I know that when we put the judicial stuff online, it was, like, amazing, and everyone was like, look, it's on my tablet. I'm not sure exactly how well that's working. Could be good, could be bad. But the point is, we need to figure out, how do we start talking with parents, because, like it or not, they're part of the equation, right? Pledge a daughter, pledge a parent. When they join, like, how are we going to talk about expectations? You know, let's not wait until the who can I call, but back it up. And if I'm the advisor, I should be thinking, okay, so if we've had a lot of moms and dads call and say, I don't understand this lease, and why isn't she getting her security deposit back? And I don't understand this meal plan. and I'm not sure why you're holding her accountable, right? Like there's all that stuff. How do we front load it? Like what information do we need to give new members on day one at that first meeting? Yay, glitter, cake, and here's your folder. Here's the folder. Here's the stuff. Give us the email for your parents because I'm going to send some stuff, the bill, the calendar, the expectations, right? How do we set that off at the pass? If we have a parents' day, great. It's more than just cake and ice cream. It's, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm the advisor. Has anybody talked with you about our standards and expectations for your daughter while she's a member? Boom, right? Like that's how we have to take this information and figure it out, right? So it's not just enough to say, like, they drive me crazy, they're horrible people.
And from the alumni perspective, wouldn't it be great if we were giving information to our Tri Delta sisters who are alumni who are sending their children to college? Right. I want you to think about that. You know, Michelle Schimberg said one time, she said, preparing my kids to be ready to leave is my job. And I was like, wow, that's bold. Yeah. She said, it's not my job for them to leave and still need me. She said, it's my job to prepare them to be able to face whatever comes next. What a great opportunity as older sisters who are who we know they're sending their children to college. We believe, most of us in this institution of higher learning. Let's help them navigate that. What a great service and opportunity for us to help them as well with sometimes a very difficult time of letting go of the person that you've taken care of for 18, 19, how many ever years. So.
I think it's empowering the students too and coaching them, if you're working in that realm, coaching them to have those conversations about accountability and responsibility and standards and expectations, right? Because they really are absent of the language. And if you have students of that age, kids of that age, like they really don't know how to talk about anything. Like I have a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I find it to be exhausting because I'm usually like a dialogue coach. Well, you could go across the street to the neighbor and you could say, oh, I'm a brownie and I'm selling the cookies, and okay, if not this time, maybe, like that's all I do is to give people lines. I'm like a high school play director. I'm like, line, right? And that's, I think, what students need from the adults, from the advisors that are in their sphere of influence, right? They know they're supposed to have a conversation. They just don't know how to do it, right? And I think that if we were able to empower them to have some of those conversations at the lowest level, then every parent who's a lawyer, because God love them, every parent who calls me is a lawyer.
No offense, Julie, no offense.
Where's Julie?
She's right, that's your roommate. No, just saying.
Right? So if we could, again, kind of head that off at the pass, wouldn't it be, it would be different. It would be in some way different. Anything else you want to talk about with the entitled, coddled people?
Well, and I think, too, part of what we never talk about when we're working with students is where are they in their development? And when we talk about coddled, you know, I told my sister recently, my niece is getting married, and she's going to be right at 25. And so I told my sister, I showed her this picture of this brain that my friend Lori uses, and it shows about where the development is happening and not happening. I said, you see that part that's not developed? That's risk management. All that good, it's happening right there. They don't have any of that yet, you know? And she's like, okay. I said, so Lindsay and Sean really shouldn't be getting too involved until 25. I said, because that's when their frontal lobe is developed. Well, my psychology people, right? Okay, 25. So I want you to think about where are they in their development? I mean, that's part of our job too. And you might be like, why wouldn't their parents do that? Because they're barely getting them out of school. You know where I'm coming from. So there's some part that we are taking them on as our family, and it's our job to mentor that relationship at all different levels of what we're talking about. So it's our job to teach them to be strong and to be empowered, even if they've been coddled. We can help them make that transition. I believe we can.
Do you want to do one more? We've got about 10 minutes. We'll do the second
Amy,
one?
go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the second one, the silver medalist was more connected and more isolated. And so in this one, the what, so what, the authors talk about how technology is bringing more social life into the classroom. It's their means of replacing social life at college. So, and I'm sure that you've seen this, right? Like when I drive down campus, every kid at the bus stop, head down, earbuds in. And I always think, how are you supposed to meet your special person? That's how you met people, right? So conversely, they have no dating game at all. It's just, right? They talk about how undergraduates do less well at face-to-face than electronic communication. Things best done in person are now relegated to social media and text, right? So that's the passive-aggressive girl fighting on the listserv. I will also caution you, anyone who works with students, you do know there are two listservs, right? There's the one you're on and the one you're not. Like, a lot of people don't know that. Like, they might know it, but they don't own it. But I'm telling you, there are two, okay? They talk about how the students are really afraid of being without their digital device, right? The phone is my new security blanket. That's my new teddy bear. That's my new, as my brother would say, vampire deflector. This will keep me from harm, right?
Because there's an app for that.
There is an app for that. I'm sure there is. This one is a great one. This is all night we could talk about this. Lack of comprehension between public versus private in digital media. Difficulty recognizing what is inappropriate. How many of you are on Yik Yak?
Yik Yak? Anybody on Yik Yak?
So for the folks of you who don't know what it is, and people are always like, what is that? What is that? And, you know, when Facebook came out, it was like, oh, it's this fun thing, and you can have a profile. And, you know, when Instagram, oh, you can post pictures. Yik Yak, it's like it's evil, dirty little brother. And so if you're not on it, and seriously, if you're not on it and you're someone who is a little faint of heart and you're rather proper, which is, I'm going to guess, many people in the room, don't go on it. And am I right, Yik Yak users? So Yik Yak is horrible and also mildly entertaining.
And there's about, and Yik Yak now has about 20 sister-brother kinds of
So
sites
basically
as well.
what you do is you log in, you create your account. You are anonymous. You can now post. Their creators were saying we wanted to create it as an opportunity for students on campus or anywhere to have kind of a virtual bulletin board. Hey, what's going on tonight? Oh, there's a campus program that RUP was sponsoring. Hey, don't forget RUSA elections are happening tonight. Hey, there's a film at blah, blah, blah. All true things, right? That could happen. Instead, what you get is, what's going on tonight? Addresses. Fives at Phi Delt. The ratio is 3 to 5. And, oh, you can go into this place, and you can do, and it's like, oh, man. But it's usually populated by a lot of, I find, sexually frustrated people who are really excited about guacamole at Chipotle. Am I right? Like, it's a lot, and a lot of profanity. So if that's not how you roll, don't go on it. And it's really, it's bad. But it's that idea that students feel that they, you know, students have a lot going on. Some of it's inappropriate. Some of it is real, right? Because some people are using it and they're saying, you know, it really stinks when my friends go home on spring break because I don't live with my parents. I have no place to go. Like, that's a real post. And then to see students say, well, you know, you can hang out at this place. Oh, the Catholic Center does this from 7 to 9 at night. And like, there are some opportunities, I think, for actual community to take place and people to try to help each other. But
some of you are sitting there thinking, why didn't they just have a conversation and say,
right, yeah.
why don't you come home with me for the
right,
holiday?
come home with me.
It's not how they go.
What happened to the ride board?
It's usually not how they are.
But I think it's that idea, right, that students, a lot of students like to live out loud, and they just are like letting it all hang out there. Good, bad, or ugly. And then they're shocked, right, when someone comes back and says, hey, Marianne, like, what was up with that post where you used some really bad language, or you called somebody out, or you whatever, like.
Or Sarah at a Shaw saw that you put.
Oh, okay, yeah. Does this happen? It might only happen at my school, but again, you should apply. Like, where the standards board chair now becomes Sarah Ida Shaw, she Facebook friends everybody in the chapter, and then she has to monitor their pictures and all their ish, and I think this is what it's come to, right? Like, it's crazy. So it's that idea of, you know, at some point, if I'm thinking, what, so what, now what? Okay, if I'm concerned about what people are putting out on social media, am I being reactive and saying, now, girls, if I was a theta, I'd say, TNT, that's not theta. I don't know what you guys say, but like what would we say? Oh, that's not tri-delta. That's conduct unbecoming. Well, are we waiting until after they've done it? Or again, day one, here's your folder, and here's the stuff on social media. And to talk about not just in terms of like, well, you can't post this because then, you know, you're going to make us look bad. That's okay, you can have that conversation, but again, it's like parenting, right? It's like, see, this is what we believe because we're tri-deltas. And if you're going to wear our letters, if you're going to be part of our group, you need to believe that too. Now, ideally, we've already talked about that with her during recruitment, right? Oh, right? So, but there's that idea of, again, getting out in front of it. You know, like, so rather than, you know, sanctioning them, how do we have a good conversation about it, right? But again, you have to be in that social media to understand how the students are using it and what they're posting. And not just to kind of react to that knee-jerk value of like, wow, what's up with the Chipotle? But to be able to say like, we seem to be talking a lot about X issues. Why is that? Tell me more about that, right? And that's, again, that's not a conversation to have with the 120 women or 400 women, but that's a conversation to have with like 2 or 3 of those trusted undergraduate women that you know are going to give you a straight answer to say, how is this impacting how our sisterhood is responding? Because if we're using social media to list passive-aggressive statements about people on the exec board, or to comment about other chapters, right? Like that's something we need to act on. So we need to figure out how do we help them, again, model that way to be able to have good conversations, productive conversations. We talk a lot about civil discourse, right? Like, okay, that's how you model it. But it's knowing what they're doing and knowing how they're using it to then figure out, okay, how do we and where is it appropriate for us to intervene?
And remember, they truly are probably, and I mean, we have a lot of young alumni in this room, and they are the smartest generation we've ever had on college campuses. They have the most access to the world. It's like global doesn't mean anything to them anymore. Everything's very close. And I think that part of the challenge is they jumped right in. I remember I was the national president of Theta Phi Alpha. I was sitting with the 26 national presidents when Facebook hit a campus. Like had gone from Harvard and hit their first campus. And I remember the president saying, oh, we're not going to really worry about that. It's not going to stick. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is the most brilliant thing that I've seen in a very long time. It's going to be here for however long. And then to look at now, that was just the beginning. You know, who would have ever thought that we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow? So I think it's really about bringing it back to face-to-face conversations. If we can't do that, there's nowhere else on a college campus where women can sit down and talk face-to-face. And sometimes it's hard. I mean, I've been in those rooms till 2 o'clock in the morning working through some really hard topics. And that's been within the last 6 months. But I think, yeah, I know. But I think that, I was going to not point you out. But I think that was our promise. That's our promise. Is no matter if you're an alumna member who's involved at that level, or you're working in the trenches with collegians, or you're on the LDC making sure we've got the right leaders. Bottom line is, we said we would. And that's the most important piece of all of this. Can I have my slide back? So I sent this picture to Amy, and she sent me an email back. Nice, pretty slides. I don't know. What'd you think of the giraffe looking in the window? She's like, I don't know. What does that mean?
What does this mean?
So I called her, and I tried to explain it. And what did you think on the plane?
And then I was like, after I realized on the plane that this was like the 300-person thing and not the 300 thing, I had that OSM, and I looked out the window, and I thought, damn it, where's that giraffe? I could just jump right down and slide down his neck, and I would be free. And in fact, not.
But do you ever feel like that giraffe looking in from the outside of the plane sometimes? Right. When you're like, working with collegians or young alumni or older alumni, you know what I mean, or us middle ones? Do you ever think sometimes, hey, how's it going? I'm here. See, you're going to think about the giraffe now. I couldn't get a dolphin in the sky. Sorry, I just couldn't make it out. I looked. Our AE Phi sisters would be very happy that I used a giraffe.
Exactly.
And Amy's a squirrel and I'm a penguin because, anyway. Anyway, so the so what is, what do we do? And Amy shared a little bit about that. There's an issue of the Trident coming out, and I would challenge you to read it cover to cover. It's a story of Tri Delta's challenges and definitely our celebrations. But I think woven in that is you. You are the ones who connect the dots for Tri Delta. As Amy said at the beginning of the presentation, it's not enough for you to say, oh, this is what I do. I'm a financial specialist. All I deal with is the bunny. But sometimes within that budget scene and sometimes within that not paying dues is where we learn what's really going on with a student. So you are key at every level to how we make this whole thing, this beautiful organization that each one of you get to be a part of, called Tri Delta, and make it work. Sarah Shaw created a very clear foundation to lead you on a journey that has brought you to here and will bring you, hopefully, to hundreds of years to come. But you have to keep the dots connected. If something's going on as an advisor, you have to communicate with your CDOs and up the ranks so that we know. EO can't just sit around thinking, well, wonder what they need this week. We'll do a job aid. I mean, we can't do that. I mean, poor Sarah tries to figure out from week to week because everybody wants something different. But bottom line is, we've got to know. And you are the, as Karen says all the time, you're the boots on the ground. And Karen, I think, has set a stage for us where the volunteers, you see it everywhere this weekend, the fraternity led by the volunteers, guided by our purpose. So if you're not helping us to connect the dots, if you don't know the issues issue, because the issues issue should set you up for a lot of things. It's beautifully written, and it's so thoughtful, and it really does say, what are our women being challenged with? And even some of those challenges, what are we being challenged with as we journey through our experience as alumni members? So the now what is you, to keep everyone informed, to keep everyone connected, to make sure that the changing landscape isn't something that happens over here, but it's something that we continue to evaluate, to stay a part of, and to be partners with our host institutions, with our chapter members who live in our host institutions' worlds, to you being the connectivity to Big Tri Delta. And if we can get that right, Tri Delta will truly be unstoppable in every endeavor that we take on. So from all of us to you, thank you. Thank you for giving up a weekend away from your families and for truly loving something that probably at 18 years old, some of you made a promise for a lifetime. And you probably didn't know what you were getting yourself into. That's why I always think the honor initiates have a better deal. You know what I mean? I looked at Emily last night. I'm like, she knows what she's getting herself into.
Right, totally.
But Amy and I continue, not just in our own organizations, but we just believe in this thing called sorority. And we appreciate you letting us be a part of your world and hoping to make a little bit of a difference because you make a difference to us. Any closing thoughts, Amy?
No, because you wrapped it up really nicely. But yeah, this thing doesn't work without alums. It just doesn't. It's just a couple of women in a treehouse then, right, without the alumni. And so you really do know the most, right? You know the most about the org because you see it every day, boots on the ground. And I think that the work that you do has such an impact on those young women. You don't know it yet, but you are role models for them. You know, you're role models in the way that you do your office. You're role models for them if you are a young professional trying to figure out how to navigate a life. You're a role model for them if you're a working mom with kids and you're like, gotta go to the brownie meeting. Okay, you get me for an hour, then I gotta go, right? You're a role model for them certainly if you are an older alumni member who has stayed plugged in and you are living the lifetime commitment. That's something. I don't know of any other organization that really allows for those intergenerational friendships to happen the way in which that they happen in the fraternal world. That's priceless. What you do is priceless. Tri Delta couldn't pay for a staff this large to do all the work that you all do. It's priceless.
So with that, I have closed with this point for a long time, and I think it speaks to who you are. And it goes, you never know when someone may catch a dream from you. You never know when a little word or something you may do may open up the window of a mind that seeks the light. The way you live may not matter at all, but you never know it might. And just in case it could be, that another's life through you might possibly change for the better with a broader and brighter view. Seems it might be worth a try at pointing the way to the right. The way you live may not matter at all, but you never know, it might. The way you live with purpose as Delta Deltas matters. Thank you all so much for having us today.